After the Ossiarch Bonereaper legions are beaten back from the Eightpoints, Archaon has launched a campaign to enact revenge on the deathly hosts. Retreating deep in the wildlands of Ghur, the Ossiarch Bonereapers await reinforcements from Shyish. Archaon, supremely confident of his victory, rushes to finish his beleaguered foe. But instead of the scattered remnants, Archaon stumbles upon a mighty host led by Nagash, supreme lord of the Undead. Will Archaon finally achieve victory and rid himself of the everlooming threat from Shyish? Or will Nagash reverse his fortunes and deal a massive blow to the Chaos powers?
Hi, welcome to Season of War. We have another battle report with Zack. This matchup was voted for by the premium members, so it's going to be Nagash, Ossiarch Bonereapers versus Archaon and his Slaves to Darkness. So like always, we want to thank the premium members who allow us to do these battle reports. There's enough of you that have joined recently, and we currently have 2 battle reports a week, one of them being exclusive to the premium members. So go ahead and hit that join button down below and you can get access to 2 times the content. Do you want to take us through the battle plan?
Yeah, so we're doing Power Struggle. So this one is information very similar to the old focal points. So it has a normal scoring structure that we've seen for majority of them. So it's hold 1, hold 2, hold more. But the key one here is that you have to hold it for 2 consecutive turns of your turns, so not your opponent's turns. So you would need to actually, if you lost control in your opponent's turn, you'd still retain control in your turn as long as you were able to get it back. And that is all the fancy stuff for this one. So starting off with my list that you guys, premium members, have seen before. So it's Archaon and host of the Everchosen. So I got the big boy here himself. I got his right-hand man, the Sorcerer Lord on Manticore. He has Amulet of Destiny and knows Mask of Darkness. That's the teleport spell. And then I have his 2 little buddies that are always with him, the Sorcerer Lord and the Chaos Lord. And the Chaos Lord has the Arcane Tome, so he can cast a spell. Then I have my 3 battle line units, which are the 5 Knights, the 10 Warriors, and the 3 Vanguard. Everything is wrapped up in a Warlord Battalion and a Hunters of the Heartlands. And my grand strategy today is Prize Sorcery. So basically all my heroes, I can tend to keep them pretty safe. And all under the host of the Everchosen sub-allegiance. So that's the one that definitely benefits Archaon the most, and probably the one I'll be using going forward for the most part.
My list is actually, looking at it right now, is kind of a deathly mirror as to what you have. Instead of Archaon, we have the big man himself, Nagash, his best friend, Archaon, instead of the Sorcerer Lord. And then I have 3 minimum battle line of Mortek Guard, and then a 2-pack of Morghast Harbingers who have the 3d6 charge. You know, to say that these 2 lists we think are very competitive lists, we took fairly similar lists to a local tournament just recently. And again, it's in kind of the current meta of 3.0, big god monsters are pretty prevalent. And we made these lists, you know, individual, like separate from each other, and we kind of arrived at the same conclusion. So we'll see if Nagash or Archaon will reign supreme. I have a decision here, and I think because of kind of the distance that we're at, I'll give Zack the first turn, so it'll be Slaves to Darkness turn 1.
Sounds good.
The Slaves to Darkness battle tactic is Ferocious Advance. The Chaos Sorcerer Lord on Manticore fails heroic leadership, and the Bonereapers attempt no heroic action. Archaon casts Mystic Shield on himself. The Sorcerer on Manticore uses Oracular Vision on the Vanguard. The Sorcerer Lord uses Oracular Vision on Archaon. The Sorcerer Lord fails to cast Demonic Power. Archaon casts Arcane Bolt. The Slaves to Darkness pick Archaon for Will of the Everchosen. The Chaos Lord uses at the double. The Slaves to Darkness achieve their battle tactic, scoring 2 points.
So, Slaves to Darkness, turn 1. Did as much as I could here. Did Ferocious Advance over here with these guys. Kept them all within 3, just moved them up a little bit. Basically kept my knights where they were, and then moved the Archaon Goon Squad onto this point. Carl can come and take around the edges of it, but it's a solid position for now, and depending on where priority goes, everything will be close enough to him. So not too much going on. I don't score any points because we have to hold it for 2 consecutive R turns.
But it is a commanding position, because for me to even touch the point, I would have to engage Archaon.
Exactly. So, with that being said, gonna go into OBR, turn 1.
The Bonereaper battle tactic is Ferocious Advance. Archaon fails Heroic Leadership. Nagash uses Supreme Lord of the Undead. The Bone Tide Nexus attempts the punishment of lethargy, but fails. Nagash casts Mystic Shield on himself. Archaon casts Mystic Shield on Nagash, the Morgoth Harbingers, and himself. Nagash casts Protection of Nagash. Nagash casts Arcane Bolt 5 times. Nagash casts the Aether Void Pendulum. At the end of the hero phase, the Aether Void Pendulum deals 1 mortal wound to Nagash. After taking a wound, Protection of Nagash causes Nagash to teleport. The Chaos Sorcerer Lord on Manticore uses Redeploy and moves 5 inches. Nagash fails to roar at the Chaos Warriors. The Chaos Warriors use all-out defense. Nagash uses Bludgeon and deals 3 wounds to the Chaos Warriors. The Chaos Warriors deal 1 wound to Nagash. At the start of the Battle Shock phase, Nagash unleashes his Arcane Bolts and deals 7 mortal wounds to the Chaos Warriors. The Bonereapers achieve their battle tactic to score 2 points.
So, OBR turn 1, we played very cagey, threw Nagash onto one side with his teleport spell, and being able to move it affords him quite a bit of mobility. Wasn't able to kill the Chaos Warriors, but put him in a position to stretch you out. And then I overloaded the rest of my army on one side, thinking that if you go for them, then Nagash is fairly safe, or you go for Nagash and they're fairly safe. So yeah, that's turn 1. The score now is 3-2 because there's a weirdness to this battle plan.
Yeah, so the scoring has it. So if you hold 1 for 2 turns, then you score 1. If you hold 2 for 2 turns, you score 1. But if you're holding more, you only have to hold more for 1 turn.
Yeah.
So in this case, in the very first turn, I held 3, so I'd actually get 1 additional point, including my battle tactic. So that'd bring it to 3-2.
Yep. So there it is. So priority roll.
Yes, sir.
Use the Toronto dice here. That'll be a
6.
6.
I got a 3,
So I will take it.
All right, sounds good, man.
It'll be our turn 2.
The Bonereaper's battle tactic is broken ranks, targeting the Chaos Warriors. The Sorcerer Manticore and Nagash both use their finest hour. Nagash uses Supreme Lord of the Undead. Archaon uses First of the Mortarks. Nagash heals 1 wound from Invocation of Nagash. Archaon casts Curse of Years but is unbound. Archaon casts Mystic Shield on himself and the Mortek guard. Nagash casts Hand of Dust, but the Sorcerer on Manticore ignores it due to the aura of Tzeentch. Nagash casts the Aether Void Pendulum. Nagash successfully casts Arcane Bolt 4 times. The Bone Tithe Nexus attempts the punishment of lethargy, but fails. At the end of the hero phase, the Aether Void Pendulum deals 2 wounds to the Sorcerer on Manticore. The Morghast Harbingers use Unstoppable Advance. Nagash roars at the Chaos Warriors, and the Sorcerer Manticore roars at Nagash. Nagash deals 10 wounds to the Chaos Warriors. The Sorcerer Manticore deals 2 wounds to Nagash. The Bonereapers control 2 objectives for the 2nd consecutive turn, hold more objectives, and achieve their battle tactic with a monster, scoring 6 victory points.
Alright, OBR turn 2, so I kind of continued the stretch out process. Unfortunately, my Morghasts weren't able to get in. 3d6 charge looking for a 9 ended up being triple 1s, and the downfall of OBR not being able to reroll their charge rolls. So they're stuck over there, kind of went further out. Nagash was able to take the Chaos Warriors, which scored me quite a few points, but again, Archaon is in a really central position here, so we'll see where he goes. So that's kind of your big decision point.
Yeah, that'll be a thinker for sure. It's going to be tough because you did a really good job basically spreading threats on all parts of the board. And the main threat's back here, but that's also where a lot of my power already is. So if I just shift it back and forth, then I'm in trouble. So
So we'll see.
Yeah.
Slaves to Darkness turn 2.
Let's do it.
The Slaves to Darkness battle tactic is aggressive expansion. The Sorcerer Manticore and Nagash both use Heroic Recovery and heal 1 wound each. Nagash dispels the Aether Void Pendulum. Archaon uses Dark Prophecy. Archaon attempts to use Filth Spewer, but fails. The Sorcerer Manticore uses Oracular Vision on the Varangard. The Sorcerer Lord uses Oracular Vision on Archaon. The Sorcerer Lord casts Demonic Power on Archaon. Archaon casts Mystic Shield but is unbound. Archaon casts Spite Tongue Curse, dealing 3 mortal wounds to the Mortek guard. The Chaos Lord casts Whisperers of Chaos, but is unbound. The Sorcerer Manticore attempts Arcane Bolt, but fails. The Slaves to Darkness use Will of the Everchosen on the Morghast Harbingers. The Sorcerer Lord uses at the double. Archaon and Nagash both roar at each other. At the start of the combat phase, Nagash unleashes 4 arcane bolts at the Chaos Lord, but fails to do any wounds. Archaon uses the Inspired Triumph. Archaon deals 14 wounds to Nagash, leaving him with only 1 wound remaining. Nagash fights back and deals 7 wounds to Archaon. The Slaves to Darkness control 2 objectives for 2 consecutive turns, hold more objectives, and complete their battle tactic to score 5 points.
So Slaves to Darkness turn 2. Take us through it.
Yeah, so I try to block the Morghast as much as I can over here. I think they're still going to do a good chunk of damage, so we'll see what happens there. Moved everything out of combat because I wanted to make sure I can secure this objective so Carl can't just run on and take it, because I wouldn't have enough models here with what he had left there. So I had to move the Vanguard up there, and then I retreated my Manticore out to also help take it. So I'll have 11 there. So it'll be really hard for him to take with anything that he tries to fly over there, or even just move up with his Mortech. But I got Demonic Power off on Archaon, and I would be an absolute non-destruction player, which I am at heart, if I didn't go right into Nagash.
Yeah.
So I go in, I get 1/6 to wound on my Slayer of Kings, and I choose to re-roll all 3 dice again. But I did not get the 6, unfortunately. But then Archaon kept on going into him. Ended up, Carl had 2 dice because 2 wounds got through.
Yeah.
He needed to roll a 6 on one of them, and he did, and he got it, and Nagash lived with 1 wound.
1
so
wound.
It was pretty huge. And also with the roar coming back at me, I can't pile in twice and fight.
Yeah.
Which would increase the likelihood of Slayer of Kings killing him flat out, and just him dying as well.
Yeah. There's just so many wounds coming through, and I didn't get the Mystic Shield off on him, so
yeah.
he was incredibly vulnerable. We were talking about whether or not you were gonna go for that play, but yeah.
Yeah, and I had to do it just for fun.
And it's half my army dead, right?
Yeah,
if you do.
Exactly. So I really wanted to, and so I went for it. And in the end, no matter what, I still score the same amount of points. I still score my battle attack, which is aggressive expansion. I still hold 1, hold 2, hold more. So I'll score my full 5 here. And I know Nagash can heal a lot, but he is now wounded, and his damage output is decreased a little bit, and also his casting is decreased a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
So even with the heal, it'll be a little bit down. So maybe that might help me unbind a tiny bit more. We'll see.
For sure.
But yeah, it was a very close battle there, and it would be interesting to see. And Nagash actually hit back and did some good damage too. He did a solid 7 damage to Archaon, which is nothing
more than you usually get.
Yeah, that's more damage than I think I took all the last tournament. So.
All right, and you did use Dark Prophecy.
Yeah. So if
you take turn, I think Nagash is dead. So.
Yeah, Nagash is dead, and then I can kind of move up and start taking objectives. So I already know what it is.
Yeah.
And it's a 2, so that means Carl now has to go. He doesn't get a choice, but I think even if he did have a choice, he would definitely go. So yeah, a couple big rolls in there that decided maybe the game. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
I'm still in the game. That's
sure.
What it is.
The Slaves to Darkness remove the top left objective thanks to Seismic Shift. The Bonereaper's battle tactic is aggressive expansion. Nagash fails heroic recovery, but Archaon succeeds, healing 2 wounds. Nagash uses Supreme Lord of the Undead. Nagash casts Protection of Nagash. Nagash casts Mystic Shield. Nagash casts Arcane Bolt. Nagash casts Aether Void Pendulum. Nagash casts Hand of Dust and successfully slays Archaon. Archaon casts Mystic Shield on himself and the unit of Morghast. Archaon casts Curse of Years and deals 2 mortal wounds to the Chaos Warriors. The Morghast use Bludgeon, slay the Chaos Lord, and deal 3 wounds to the Chaos Knights. The Chaos Knights deal 1 wound to Morghast. Archaon deals no wounds to the Chaos Knights. The Bonereapers hold 2 objectives for 2 consecutive turns, hold more objectives, slay a monster, and complete their battle tactic to score 5 points.
Alright, OBR turn 3 was kind of big. I had to get Nagash out there, so I was setting up to teleport him out. But in a last-ditch effort, I tried to hand in dust Archaon, and you had so many protections. I was like, this isn't gonna work, and
it worked.
Fortunately, it did. Yeah, you had a 4-up ignore, then a 5-up ignore, then you had to pick the hand that had no dice. So we were calculating it. It was something like
it's the same as rolling any number on a d6. So it's a 16.67. So definitely something I was willing to throw into. Like it's happens 1/6 of the time, so it's just and it this is fun, going into them 100%. So, and this is one of the times that happened. So.
Yeah, and last turn you were really close to just killing the Gash outright. So
yeah, basically the difference between that combat phase in my turn up into the hero phase in your turn, the tides completely switched there.
Yeah.
So.
You did because it's round 3. You did end up burning the objective that I was gunning for with the opposite end of my force, so it kind of cut the board in half. So just 3 in the middle and the 1 that's on my on my side. So we're gonna go into STD round 3.
The Slaves to Darkness battle tactic is Conquer. The Sorcerer on Manticore fails heroic recovery, but Nagash succeeds and heals 1 wound. The Sorcerer on Manticore uses Oracular Visions on himself. The Chaos Lord casts Whisper of Chaos and deals 7 wounds to the Mortec Guard. The Sorcerer on Manticore casts Mystic Shield on himself. The Mortec Guard use Reinforced Battle Shields. The Varen Guard deal 4 wounds to the Mortec Guard. The Mortec Guard deals 7 wounds to the Varen Guard. The Varen Guard use Relentless Killers and deals 6 more wounds to the Mortec Guard. The Slaves to Darkness hold 2 objectives for 2 consecutive turns, hold more objectives, and complete their battle tactic to score 5 points.
Yeah, so lost Archaon, which hurts, because that also kind of destroys my whole sub-allegiance as well. All my abilities are basically from Archaon. So I'm playing Slaves without an allegiance right now. So I try to just think of how I could recoup, because now it's no longer a game of trying to wipe out your key pieces and win off kind of decimating that. It's more of, what can I do to stay alive for as long as possible and still hold points? So what I did over here, I had my 2 heroes right here, just moved them up, so I'm able to take this point from Nagash.
Yeah.
Moved my Vanguard up here to wipe out that unit of Mortec.
Yep.
And then I retreated these guys out because there's no point in getting their bum spanked by a bunch of Morgas, especially with no hero support, no rerolling ones anymore. Anything like
And
that.
in terms of if this is the bottom of the turn, if you get the double, you're able to
score those ones as well.
score those ones for the additional, which puts you up, points. So
Exactly.
I have to claw a little bit. So yeah. So we'll roll off and see.
Yeah, it's an important one. You'll win ties here.
1.
A 4. Okay. Yeah. So I
no.
have to take it to stay in the game. So we'll go into Slaves to Darkness turn 4.
The Slaves to Darkness battle tactic is Broken Ranks. The Sorcerer Manticore fails Heroic Leadership, and Nagash uses Heroic Recovery to heal 3 wounds. The Sorcerer Manticore uses Oracular Visions on himself. The Sorcerer Manticore casts Mask of Darkness, teleporting the Chaos Lord. Chaos Lord casts Whisper of Chaos, but deals no damage. The Chaos Lord uses Spurred by the Gods on the Chaos Knights. The Mortec Guard use Reinforced Battle Shields, and the Chaos Knights kill only 1. The Chaos Knights finish off the Mortec Guard. The Slaves to Darkness hold 2 objectives for 2 consecutive turns, hold more objectives, and achieve their battle tactic to score 5 points.
Slaves to Darkness turn 4. Once again, just kind of doing what I can. It's not a job or not a task of trying to kill your stuff. That's not the point. I didn't charge him in to fight Nagash. That's not the point. Nagash is, with Archaon dead, he's unkillable at this point.
Yeah.
So I try to take as many objectives as possible. And one thing just to note, the whole consecutive turn thing kind of once again
It's very
throws off,
strange.
even though I mentioned it at the beginning with the like doubles kind of going back and forth and with the turn priority.
Yeah, consecutive of your turn, which
Yes.
is like a weird wording, but just be aware of that in this specific battle plan.
Yeah, exactly. So you killed Archaon in your turn,
Took the point.
and then you took the point,
And then
but
you-
then in my turn I ran these guys over and got it again.
Yeah.
So yeah, just in the third battle round, just
additional.
one thing that we made sure to pick up. So then I also score 5 here because I still hold this one because we're tied, and since I controlled it, I still have it.
Yeah.
I held this one anyways, no matter if I had a unit on there, but my Chaos Lord's on there just to support my horsies.
Of course.
And then my Vanguard just shoved over a little bit because I couldn't put them in a position where they could do anything yet.
And it ensures I can't just teleport on there and take it.
Exactly. So I'll score those 3. I also get my tactic, which was close, actually. So I charged my my Chaos Knights into Carl's 3 more tech that were there.
They're rerolling saves.
They're rerolling saves and also ignoring Ren. So
Yeah.
all of it was. Luckily, they didn't have Mystic Shield, or else I really would have been in trouble. But my Chaos Lord, I was just like, yeah, I'll make him fight twice just to make sure. And luckily I did, because I did 1 damage on the first pile-in,
Yeah.
and 2 or 3 on the
Yeah.
second one. But it was really close, so I'm glad I spent
Which
it.
would have been backbreaking, yeah.
Oh yeah, it wasn't worth it. I'm now completely out of CP though, because I don't have a general. I failed my CP roll for my heroic tactic as well, unfortunately. So I'm out of CP, and we are going into Carl's OBR
Turn 4.
The Bonereaper's battle tactic is Conquer. The Sorcerer Manticore fails Heroic Recovery. Nagash uses Supreme Lord of the Undead. Nagash casts Mystic Shield on himself. Nagash casts Arcane Bolt 6 times. Archaon casts Arcane Bolt. Archaon miscasts Mystic Shield and takes 2 mortal wounds. Archaon uses Unstoppable Advance. Archaon stomps the Chaos Lord for 1 wound. The Morghast use Bludgeon and finish off the Chaos Knights. The Chaos Lord deals 5 wounds to Archaon. Archaon deals 7 wounds to the Chaos Lord, killing him. The Bonereapers have held 1 objective for 2 consecutive turns and achieved their battle tactic to score 3 points.
So, OBR turn 4. Unfortunately, because of the battle plan, you have to hold objectives for 2 consecutive turns. And kind of your play before with holding the objectives kind of put me on the back foot, so I only scored 1 for my primary. I did score my battle tactic for 3 points, but that does mean that I am behind by 2 points, which hurts quite a bit. And so if you win the priority, there's still a game afoot.
Yes.
If you lose priority, I think I can take it from you.
Yeah. I just have 2 units here and there. You can fly them over and start wiping stuff out.
Correct.
So I'll be winning ties here, though, on a 6.
I got a 6
my
as
gosh.
well.
Okay. So Slaves to Darkness, turn 5. Let's see what I can do.
The Slaves to Darkness battle tactic is Bring It Down. The Sorcerer on Manticore uses Heroic Recovery and heals to full. Archaon uses their Finest Hour. The Sorcerer on Manticore uses Oracular Visions on himself. The Sorcerer on Manticore casts Arcane Bolt. The Sorcerer on Manticore uses Titanic Duel, and Archaon fails to roar. Archaon unleashes his Arcane Bolt, dealing 3 wounds to the Varangard. The Sorcerer on Manticore unleashes Arcane Bolt, dealing 2 wounds to Archaon. The Sorcerer on Manticore uses All-Out Attack and deals 2 wounds to Archaon. Archaon deals no wounds to the Varangard. The Varangard finish off Archaon. The Slaves to Darkness hold 2 objectives for 2 consecutive turns, achieve their battle tactic, and slay a monster for 5 points.
Okay, so did what I can do once again. It was a lot of thinking. A lot of thinking went into this. It was a turn where I had basically 3 models to move, but it still took a decent amount of time. I could have held this objective.
Yep.
And scored an additional point.
Yep.
But that means I'm super close to Nagash.
Yep.
And he wouldn't have to really do anything to get into me and try to kill me.
Yep.
So that means I have a higher potential to lose prize sorcery. So I went on a risk, so I left this objective, therefore no longer holding more. So I left the objective one over here. My goal was to kill Archaon with my Sorcerer Lord on Manticore.
Yep.
So went into him, charged the Varangard just for backup, just in case, and
the activations of who was going to go first.
Yeah. So that took a lot of consideration. So first I Arcane Bolted him. I actually did 2 wounds to him, which was huge. So he went down to 3, and that made me really consider who I wanted to go first with. And I chose the Manticore to go first with, and it was close.
He was at 1 wound.
It was 1 wound, and then Carl rolled that gosh darn 6 up again,
Yep.
just like what he did with Nagash, to keep him alive. So I unfortunately didn't get that with my Manticore, so therefore I don't get the additional VP for
which would have been
killing,
huge.
which would have been big. It would have definitely made it harder for Carl to get back in here. But with that being said, I was able to finish him off with the Varangard just about. So that was still great. So I still achieved my battle tactic, and so I would still score 4 points here.
4 points, yeah.
Which puts me at a little bit more than Carl right now, which is what I need. I think we're at a 7-point differential. So we'll see what Carl can do in this final turn of the game.
So yeah, I have to kill that Sorcerer Lord.
Yes, sir.
All right, so it'll be OBR turn 5.
The Bonereaper's battle tactic is Bring It Down. The Chaos Sorcerer Lord on Manticore uses Heroic Leadership. Nagash uses Supreme Lord of the Undead. Nagash casts Protection of Nagash. Nagash casts Arcane Bolt 6 times. Nagash casts the Aether Void Pendulum. The Aether Void Pendulum deals 1 wound to Nagash, triggering Protection of Nagash. Nagash uses Titanic Duel, and the Sorcerer on Manticore roars at Nagash. Nagash unleashes his Arcane Bolts at the Sorcerer on Manticore, dealing 9 mortal wounds. The Sorcerer on Manticore uses All-Out Defense, and Nagash deals 2 wounds to him. The Varangard deal no wounds to the Morghast. The Morghast deal 1 wound, finishing off the Chaos Sorcerer Lord on Manticore. The Bonereapers hold 2 objectives for 2 consecutive turns, hold more objectives, complete their battle tactic, and kill a monster to score 6 points.
All right, down to the wire. So based on kind of the maths of the game, I had to kill your Sorcerer Lord in order to be able to score enough points to win.
Mm-hmm.
And Nagash, unleashing his Arcane Bolts, was able to do a lot of damage.
Yeah.
But his fighting prowess wasn't enough to kill your Sorcerer Lord. But thankfully enough, I got the Morghasts in as well, and they were able to finish him off. I think they got 1 attack through, and you needed to roll 3 5-ups, which didn't happen.
Yeah.
Thankfully for me. But he ended up dying, which scores me prize sorcery and denies you prize sorcery.
Exactly.
So the final score of the game, incredibly close, 25 to 23.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought you losing Archaon turn 3 meant I was in the driver's seat, and I was in the driver's seat, but you kind of clawed it back here and there, 1 point here, 1 point there.
Yeah, it is demoralizing when you lose half your points in models, basically.
Yeah.
Or half your models and points. So that hurt, and I thought I lost too. I'm like, okay, I lost Archaon. But just because of how this battle plan works in terms of how you score the points, you can't just go like, turn 5, okay, I kill everything,
and
now
I run
wrap up
everywhere.
and cap objectives. You can't do that because you actually don't score points for that one. And you don't score points for this one, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was important to try to keep him alive. One of the key things here, I was thinking about redeploying to be out of the Morghast charge range.
Yeah.
But I thought the +1 to save would be so much more valuable because on average, I roll a 3 to a 4. So even if I roll a 4, so that's 7, it's a 7-inch charge, you're rolling 3d3. It's like, I'm not sure the exact percentages, but it's probably close to a 75-ish, maybe an 80-ish percent chance that you'll make it. You rolled a 6, ended up rolling a 6. So maybe if I got a high redeploy roll, I would have, but then who knows, maybe Nagash would have. It's all about the rolls. Plus 1 to save, I lost it. So it was something I considered. And it almost came through in the end, like Carl said. It was just the 1 that went through, the 1-2 that I rolled. So it could have easily spiked the other way, but yeah, really good close game. It was tough. It really made both me and Carl think a lot of what we needed to do to try to stay in the game as much as possible and like talk it out and say like, okay, we need to score this points here, that point there.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm glad that even though Archaon is the crux of my entire army, I still have play after he's gone.
Yeah. And it was incredibly scary. Like, it was like 1 or 2 points in the game that could have just swung it straight around. Nagash living with 1 wound meant in the end he was able to bully some pieces off.
Mm-hmm.
If he died there, then I would be in a similar position where I would have to scrape points as much as possible. And it could have been the exact same but flipped around if Nagash died there as opposed to living.
Yeah, key priority rolls as well. Like I won the 2 priorities that I needed to win to stay in the game. So it just shows how just a few key rolls kind of average out to to
Yep.
benefit through. So you can look back at a game and go like, oh, if I won that priority roll, oh, but if I made all my magic save rolls, my
Yeah.
spell save rolls,
Yep.
it's just like, but in the end, I believe, especially over the course of a tournament, those important rolls tend to average out, and you can't really think like, oh, but what if? Because it didn't happen, and it probably averaged out for you somewhere winning a key roll to double someone or something like that.
Exactly.
Right?
And from kind of my own learning, because of how limited OBR is in terms of your heroic actions,
Yeah.
I have to be really aware of when I do Finest Hour.
Mm-hmm.
Because I did it offensively to try to get to you, when I could have been using it defensively for when you throw Archaon into
Exactly.
him, and I would have been much more comfortable. Now Slayer of Kings can go off and he can just die, but if I use it more defensively, then I didn't have to have that heart-stopping moment there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, I'm pretty sure it's nerve-wracking that
Yeah,
entire
yeah.
time. But between Archaon going and attacking, first the Slayer of Kings roll,
Yeah.
and then you had to roll a 6-up on
Yeah.
2 dice, and then the cup roll, like I'm sure your heart was
yeah.
pounding throughout that, right?
For sure,
So-
for sure. But yeah, that's kind of, these are two highly competitive lists, and if we were to go, 10 matches between me and you, and I think it would be like 5-5.
Yeah,
just right down the middle.
Center.
So yeah, I mean, we're going to be taking something very similar to these lists in a upcoming tournament. So just watch out for kind of how we do and against other lists, not just against each other.
Yeah, and it was actually my and Carl's first game against one another. even
Yeah,
though
ever. Yeah.
We've both been playing tournaments for for me it's been about 2+ years. Carl, I know it's been even longer than that.
GHB1, yeah.
So we actually never got a chance to play on the channel before, and
Yeah.
even on the same team, we never got games against each other yet. So it was a really fun first game against each other as well.
Yeah. Well, thank you for watching this battle report. Again, if you want to see more content from us, go ahead and hit that join button so you can get 2 battle reports per week. And yeah.
The premium team really helps us out. We do really appreciate it. All of us at Season of War helps Jordan put in those long hours, as you've heard us said. He works really hard, so we all appreciate any support you guys can give.
All right. Bye.
See you guys.